Sometimes the scariest footage isn't in a horror movie. It's hidden on a shaky phone camera, a forgotten security tape, or a final recording never meant to be heard by the world. Tonight, you'll witness 3 real moments that should have never been captured, but were moments that turned ordinary nights into unsolved nightmares, leaving behind evidence no one can fully explain. And by the end, you might find yourself double-checking the shadows in your own home. Let's begin. Our first story tonight leads us down a dark, lonely highway in rural Minnesota and into a mystery that to this day has never been solved. In the early hours of May 14th, 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson was driving home from a small college party. He wasn't drunk, just tired and unfamiliar with the backroads near the tiny town of Lind. Around 1:30 in the morning, Brandon's car hit a shallow ditch on an unlit gravel road. Unable to free his car, he called his parents for help. What followed was a 47-minute phone call that haunts them to this day. Brandon sounded calm, even cheerful at first. He told his parents he could see the lights of a nearby town and would just walk towards them while they drove to pick him up. He kept reassuring them, saying things like, "I'm not scared, it's just a ditch, and I'll be fine." But the Minnesota night was pitch black. Fields, creeks, and thick bush surrounded him on every side as his dad drove up and down the country roads. Brandon kept giving him directions, but nothing matched. He said he could see headlights, but they couldn't see him. He said he was near Lind, but police later confirmed he was miles away, heading deeper into farmland. At one point he slipped, laughed it off, and told his dad he'd keep moving. Then nearly an hour into his call, his voice suddenly changed. His parents called back again and again, but there was only a dead line. Despite search parties, bloodhounds, helicopters, and thousands of man-hours, Brandon was never found. His car was recovered stuck in a ditch exactly where he said, but Brandon had walked in the opposite direction. Some believe he fell into an unmarked creek, but divers never found a trace. Others think he may have encountered someone, or something, hiding in those empty fields that night. Today, his final phone call is all that remains, a chilling recording of a young man vanishing into the darkness while his parents listen helplessly. Remember, sometimes the most haunting footage isn't what you see, it's what you hear right before the world goes quiet. Our next piece of found footage is something straight out of a fever dream, a figure so bizarre that cryptid hunters, paranormal investigators, and internet sleuths still argue about it to this day. It all started back in 2007 in a quiet neighborhood in Fresno, California. A local man had been dealing with vandals tearing up his front yard at night. Tired of walking up the broken plants and trampled grass, he decided to set up a simple motion-triggered security camera overlooking his lawn. When he reviewed the footage the next morning, he didn't find pranksters, he found something much stranger. The grainy black and white tape shows 2 entities drifting across his yard in the dead of night. They have no arms, no clear face, just impossibly thin, stick-like legs that bend in the middle, topped with what looks like tiny heads or flowing fabric. They don't walk, they glide, almost weightless, as if they're floating just inches above the ground. The man was so disturbed by what he saw that he gave the footage to a local TV station, hoping someone could explain it. No one could. When the clip hit the internet, people were instantly obsessed. Some said it had to be a hoax, maybe a puppet on strings or clever CGI. But to this day, no one has ever recreated the nightcrawlers convincingly with practical efforts. There was no visible wires, no footprints left behind, and no neighbor ever came forward admitting it was a prank. Dig deeper and you find something even stranger. Local Native American tribes in Central California have old legends describing tall, pale spirit walkers who protect certain lands at night. Some believe the nightcrawlers are these ancient guardians, finally caught on tape after centuries of stories passed down around campfires. Since that first sighting, more alleged clips have surfaced, home security footage, dash cams, even a supposed sighting in Yosemite National Park. But every video is the same, shaky, fleeting, and cut off before the creature leaves the frame, as if it wants you to see just enough to question your sanity. Are the Fresno nightcrawlers real, a modern myth, or an elaborate internet legend that refuses to die? One thing's for sure, if you're ever outside at 3 a.m. and you spot something white and leggy drifting across your yard, keep your lights off and your doors locked. Some creatures aren't meant to be followed, and some questions are better left unanswered. For our final story tonight, we leave behind urban legends and cryptids and step into a nightmare that's terrifying because it's painfully real. Sometimes the most dangerous thing lurking in your house isn't a ghost or monster, it's a stranger, silently living just a few feet above your head. In 2009, a young man living alone in a small Seattle apartment began noticing little things out of place. Leftovers he swore he hadn't eaten were missing. Milk seemed to vanish overnight. At first he blamed himself. Maybe he was half awake, raiding the fridge and forgetting. But then odd smells began to drift from the kitchen in the middle of the night. A sticky trail of crumbs appeared on the counter, even though he cleaned obsessively. Worse, he started hearing faint creaks directly above his bed, like something crawling through the walls. Doubting his own sanity, but desperate for answers, he set up a small hidden camera in the corner of his living room, pointing at the kitchen and hallway. For several nights, nothing happened, just the usual silence in an empty room. Then on the fourth night, he replayed the footage and found something that made his blood run cold. Around 2 a.m., a small disheveled figure slowly pushed open a hidden crawlspace door above a kitchen cabinet. A barefoot woman, unwashed, wild eyes, moving silently like she'd done it 100 times, dropped down onto the counter, carefully climbed to the floor, and tiptoed straight to the fridge. She opened containers, drank juice straight from the bottle, and ate leftovers with her bare hands, stopping every few seconds to listen for any sign he might wake up. When she was done, she wiped her mouth on her sleeve, crawled back up to the ceiling, and slid the panel shut behind her. Terrified, the men called the police immediately. Officers arrived and searched the crawlspace, and to their horror, they found her still up there, curled in the corner among piles of blankets, food wrappers, and stolen snacks. She'd been living in the ceiling for nearly 2 weeks, waiting until he left for work or showered to sneak around the apartment. She watched him sleep, learned his routine, and stayed completely hidden the rest of the time. To this day, no one knows exactly how she got in. Some think she slipped through an unlocked window and found a crawlspace by accident. Others believe she'd been planning it far longer, stalking the neighborhood for the perfect place to hide. No special effects, no urban legend, just chilling footage that proves your worst nightmare might not just be ghosts and creatures in the dark, but the quiet stranger who knows your house better than you do. After seeing this, you might want to check your attic tonight. You may be locked at crawlspace you never use, because sometimes you're not as alone as you think. These 3 unsettling moments remind us of the chilling truth. Reality often writes stories far darker than anything Hollywood could ever invent. Was it Brandon Swanson's haunting final words, the eerie glide of the Fresno nightcrawler, or the attic stranger that made you double check your ceiling tonight? Let me know in the comments which one sent a shiver down your spine, and if you have your own disturbing clips or true story that keep you up at night, share it below. If you want to see more real-life nightmares and unexplained footage, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next chapter. And remember, sometimes the scariest thing your camera captures is a thing you were never meant to see. This was NightFuel. I hope you have a good evening, and good night.